What is up, my dragonflies? Welcome back to another video, and I hope everyone had an amazing day. We're back with Mr. Nightmare, and this is 3 videos with disturbing backstories. So sit back, relax, get cozy, get comfortable. Good things they like because it's videos, and we've never seen videos. We only heard the narration of what's going on. So let's watch. Alrighty.
This was the recounted story of a Reddit user with the username BingBong1234. But for the purpose of this video, I'll just refer to him as Tom. It started when Tom was 8 years old, taking his dog for a walk through the neighborhood with his mom. It was a little later in the night, between 10 and 11 p.m. They lived next to a swampy, woodsy area on the edge of the neighborhood.
Wait, why are they walking their dog late night?
Which was in Lansing, Michigan. It was a very silent night except for the slight wind. Then, from down in the swamp, Tom and his mother heard somebody whistling at them.
I mean, it depends where you
It sounded
live.
sort of like a bird, but each whistle was different enough where the lack of consistency made it human-like. The whistling would apparently fluctuate pitches, sounding higher then lower.
The Walking
With a
Dead.
concerned and slightly terrified look on her face, Tom's mother grabbed his hand and said that they should go inside the house quickly. But since this happened at a very young age, and nothing similar happened for a while, Tom forgot about it, until 2 years later. Tom was taking his dog out again late at night, and towards the end of the walk, Tom suddenly heard the same whistling noise again. In his words, with the same pitches and same inconsistent human-like tones, coming from a bush that could easily obscure a person behind it, just next to the front
I
door.
think it's a ghost.
With the disturbing memory of seeing his mom equally terrified from the same whistling 2 years earlier, looking down into the swamp at something neither of them could see, he ran inside as fast as possible. Years went by again without it happening, and eventually it slipped from Tom's mind. Fast forward to the summer of 2015, when Tom was 24 and started dating his girlfriend Sarah, who he moved to South Dakota with. For Independence Day, the couple decided to go to Pierre, South Dakota, and watch the fireworks along the bank of the Missouri River. The two were parked at a free camping area behind a hospital, where people were allowed to pitch their tents, hang out, and see the fireworks up the river. Tom and his girlfriend were near the very end of the campground, and there were very few, if any, people around them. The fireworks began as it started to get dark. They sat right at the edge of the river to be able to see the fireworks. A huge thunderstorm was approaching, so the air seemed electric and the wind was picking up. The atmosphere was very eerie and unusual, as the video will display. Most of the other campers walked up the river to have a better view of the fireworks, but Sarah and Tom stayed back and were drinking beers amongst themselves and relaxing. And suddenly, the couple heard the sound of a paddle methodically dipping into the water. They saw a figure steering a canoe about 20 meters offshore. Around this time, Sarah decided to get more beers from the car, leaving Tom alone to stare at this mysterious person. And then he heard the familiar whistle that at one point haunted his childhood. His entire body froze as he was quickly covered in goosebumps. It was the exact same whistle from his childhood, more than a
I think a
decade
ghost is
later.
following you.
Tom looked at the figure, but it was way too dark to see who it could be. The person in the canoe was wearing a hat, and when they were perpendicular to the shore from Tom, they stopped paddling, turned the canoe to face directly at him, and whistled. Tom looked at the person and shouted, "Who are you?" which received no reply. The person just whistled a couple more times, turned the canoe, and paddled out of sight. As the canoe was almost out of sight, Tom grabbed his camera and got a shot of them whistling as they paddled away. When Sarah came back from getting the beers, she was very confused as to why Tom was so freaked out. When he explained, Sarah was also completely unnerved. Tom was under the impression that they were being followed and watched, and that they were in danger, especially if he was somehow being followed for 14 years by the same person all the way to South Dakota. This raises some big questions. such as, was it a coincidence? Why was it always the same whistling noise? And if it wasn't a coincidence, who was the person? Why did they follow Tom, and where did they go? To this day, there have been no conclusive updates on the matter, and these questions remain unanswered. Emma Filipoff was 26 years old when she disappeared almost 10 years ago, on November 28, 2012. She was described by friends and family as a beautiful, creative, and private girl. There's been an extensive investigation into Emma's disappearance ever since, but so far investigators have been unsuccessful in determining what happened to her. A surveillance video from the day Emma disappeared shows her in a 7-Eleven pacing around and cupping her hands around the glass door as she looked outside, as though she was being followed. She purchased a prepaid cell phone in the 7-Eleven despite never owning one before. Then she hesitated before leaving. The cell phone she purchased was never activated. A little later, Emma got into a taxi instructing the driver to go to the airport. She then got out of the taxi due to insufficient funds for the fare. She was last seen between the times of 7:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. acting strangely in front of the Empress Hotel. According to a witness, Emma seemed confused. He saw her at a crosswalk, refusing to cross the street. He asked her if she was feeling okay, and asked her if she was being followed due to her paranoid mannerisms. Emma said she was okay. So, not knowing what to do, he made a phone call to the police. Police showed up and found her shoeless, and they questioned her for a total of 45 minutes and then left. Investigators later found her vehicle the following morning, parked at the Chateau Victoria parking lot, containing all of her belongings, including her laptop, books, her passport, and library card. Investigators found a CCTV footage clip from a local YMCA 5 days before Emma went missing. In the clip, she walked in and out through the door 6 times, peering out through the glass. One possible person of interest is in CCTV footage from a Vancouver store. The 2014 surveillance video.
Usually when you see that person, you be like, oh, this lady being weird. But sometimes you gotta just think yourself. Sometimes you don't know what to say. Should you post this person? Like, are you okay? Or just leave it be?
Shows a man in a Gastown clothing store holding a purple poster in his right hand. The store owner reported that the man was irritated and claiming Emma was his girlfriend and that she wanted to be left alone. Police have not yet been able to identify him.
Oh. So it's him.
Footage you're about to watch was of an episode of the old game show, The Dating Game, and on the surface it seems completely normal, and all the contestants seem to be regular people you'd expect to see in a typical cheesy 1970s dating show. However, one person on the stage was not who he seemed, and it was later found out this episode was filmed amid a gruesome killing spree. He was the winner of the episode, and his name was Rodney Alcala, a serial killer who victimized up to 130 women. This was part of the episode.
130?
Baxter number 1 is a successful photographer who got his start when his father found him in the dark room at the age of 13, fully developed.
Look like Charlie Ray.
You might find him skydiving or motorcycling. Please welcome Rodney Alcala.
Charlie Ray was no.
He was introduced as Bachelor number 1, a successful photographer who enjoyed skydiving and motorcycling in his spare time.
A Bachelor number 1. I am serving you for dinner.
Oh.
What are you called, and what do you look like?
I'm called the banana, and I look really good.
Can you be a little more descriptive?
Feel me.
With his suggestive quips and impressions, he won the contest, scoring a date with the Bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw. But in the years that followed his appearance on the show, Alcala would come to be known as the dating game killer.
Oh, see?
Will that date be Bachelor number 1, Bachelor number 2, or Bachelor number 3? Who gets the date?
Well, I like bananas, so I'll take one.
Number 1, Bachelor number 1, all right. He's a skydivers. He's got a lot of nerve. He's into motorcyclists. He's also a fine photographer. Say hello to Rodney Alcala. Rodney, come on.
He was convicted of the murders of 6 women and a 12-year-old girl, with some of the crimes being committed before his TV appearance. Investigators estimated his victims could be as many as 130. Alcala died at age 77 while on death row. He committed his first known crime on September 2077 while on death row. He committed his first known crime on September 25th, 1968, when an eyewitness in Los Angeles called police after watching him lure an 8-year-old girl named Tali Shapiro into his apartment. Tali was walking to school when Alcala offered her a ride, but he took her to his apartment instead. When the police arrived, the girl was found alive, but Alcala had fled. To evade the resulting arrest warrant, he left the state and enrolled in the NYU Film School, using the name John Berger. With his good looks and charm, he persuaded many young women to pose in photographs.
And she's 8-year-old, wife by herself. She needs to be with someone, walk with a group, get picked up, something.
For him, most of whom are presumed to have been victims of his, and apparently a lot of them remain unidentified. In fact, you can easily find these pictures online. In 1971, he obtained a counseling job at a New Hampshire arts camp for children. The FBI added Alcala to its list of 10 most wanted fugitives, and a few months later, 2 children attending the arts camp noticed his photo on an FBI poster at the post office. Alcala was arrested and extradited to California. He only served 3 years in prison for this crime, because Shapiro's family had relocated to Mexico, and her parents refused to have her testify at the trial. The years following, he would be in and out of jail, and the list of his victims would grow longer and longer. Somehow, Alcala was able to make it on the dating show despite his criminal history, and of course his record went unmentioned during his appearance. After Cheryl Bradshaw chose Rodney Alcala, the two were awarded tennis lessons, complete with outfits, and a trip to Magic Mountain theme park.
First, you'll receive tennis lessons from expert Naomi Mesa of the famous Kirkwood Tennis Club. And start.
The two were then escorted to a place where the show would allow the match to talk and get to know each other. And it was during this time that Cheryl Bradshaw started to get a bad feeling about Rodney overall, describing him as creepy and weird. The arranged date after the show never happened, because Bradshaw called the show's office after filming and told the contestant coordinator that she didn't want to go because of the weird vibes that came off of him.
She said, Ellen, I can't go out with this guy. There's weird vibes that are coming off of him.
Wait, who was that?
The show never happened, because Bradshaw called the show's office after filming told the contestant coordinator that she didn't want to go because of the weird vibes that came off of him.
Through the show.
Ellen, I can't go out with this guy. There's weird vibes that are coming off of him. He's very strange. I'm not comfortable. Is that going to be a problem? And of course I said no.
The next year, on June 20th, 1979, 12-year-old Robin Samso of Huntington Beach vanished while riding a bike to a ballet lesson. A Forest Service employee later found her remains, scattered across a remote ravine in Los Angeles. Robin's friends told police that a stranger had photographed them on the beach the day she disappeared. Authorities obtained a warrant to arrest Alcala based on his record, his known habit of photographing children, and indications that he frequented the area that the girl's body was found. Rodney Alcala's DNA would later link him to the deaths of multiple other women. In 2010, he was convicted of 5 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death, but after New York City investigators began probing his potential ties to unsolved killings in the city in the 1970s, he was also charged for the murders of 2 more women, which he pleaded guilty to. The actual amount of disappearances and murders that Rodney is responsible for remain unknown. It's crazy to think how Cheryl Bradshaw's gut instincts that something was off about Rodney and her refusal to go through with their date probably saved her life.
A woman's intuition. But shout out to Cheryl. Am I saying that right? Yeah. Shout out to that lady, but it's very disturbing, very sad. Sometimes we need to, I don't have kids, talk with our children. Stranger danger, and make sure you're with the crowd. Make sure you're in an environment with a lot of people, because the 8-year-old who's walking by herself, she should be with someone, talk to someone, and she was riding her, and also the other little girl, young lady, who was riding her bike to her ballet recital. Wow. Like, don't talk, ignore. don't ride your, even just walk where there's a lot of traffic, you know, and just mind your business. Mind your business. That's all. Yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to always have the most awesome positive day. Stay grateful and stay blessed. Until next time, you guys. Peace.